And tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern on Howard 101, tune in for the Act 3 kickoff special.
All right, Lisa, thank you very much from the Howard 100 newsroom. They're working hard to bring you all the news.
Lisa Glassberg takes shits at work.
About the Howard Stern channels in the world of Howard Stern listeners. I get so angry when I read about Oral Roberts, that guy who just died, the preacher, 91 years old, and they sort of treat him like he was a serious human being. Like, to me, he's no different than a carnival barker. I mean, I just don't like the guy. Never did. And, it's really weird because I'm reading about the Attorney General, Cuomo, who's going after these homeless guys who walk around with these jugs, and they want you to put money in the jug, and then, lo and behold, it turns out they're really not giving the money to charity, and he's going after them. And I go, that's beautiful. I'm glad they're going after those guys. But why didn't they go after Oral Roberts and that whole televangelism thing where you get on TV and say, send me money directly and God will protect you and you can finance my church? It's no different. I mean,
they call it religion and therefore the government can't get involved.
It's such highway robbery. I mean, I'm going to lay hands on you and heal you. They actually, at one point, I was reading his, not bibliography, his fucking, his obituary. Okay. And at one point, I guess there were a bunch of even like Christians who went ahead and tried to find one person that Oral Roberts healed, like would claim that they were healed by him laying hands.
Because he said he resurrected one guy from the dead.
Yeah, well, lo and behold, they couldn't find one person. And
you'd think that guy would come forward.
It's so repugnant because you read about this guy's wealth. I mean, he built tremendous, churches and had money and,
a university.
It's just unbelievable. And this sentence really kills me in his obituary. His influence derived from his intimate understanding of those who turned to him for worship. They were white and black and Hispanic, the poor and the ill, hardworking people who could not afford an abundance of material possessions, but whose dreams of health and prosperity were tied to an abiding love of God. So he tapped into the most vulnerable people. Right. They do a study for the lottery, and they find the people who buy lottery tickets are losers. People who basically are really down on their luck.
Mostly don't have much money at all.
Yeah.
For the essentials of life.
It's not middle-class people with a job. It's people who are on the balls of their ass who are buying that ticket on a pipe dream. And so Oral Roberts tapped in. He himself was the biggest loser of all, but he tapped in that he could sit and talk to these people and milk them out of some money.
Well, he's not the only one. A lot of people are preying on that group.
The rise of his ministry coincided with the development of television. Mr. Roberts was among the first American religious leaders to recognize and deploy this new communications tool to touch people, and he seized on its extraordinary national and global reach. It helped that he was a natural showman, capable of booming, florid oratory. But he could also be intimate and tender, relying on homespun speaking style, a gentle touch, and a deep knowledge of Scripture to connect with his followers, many of whom viewed him as heroic. I wish the Attorney General Cuomo would go after these guys. Unbelievable.
Again, they are not putting a gun to anybody's head.
Well, the same as a homeless guy running around with a jug, if you ask me.
Yeah, but it wasn't about them running around with the jug. It was about where they put the money.
Oral Roberts. What a crock. And I don't know who's sicker, the people who give him the money or him. And they say his life was also filled with tragedy, something with his kids. I don't know, one kid.
Yeah, I don't know much about his children.
One kid, I think, was running the whole shebang, and he had to resign. I think they caught him with his hand in the cookie jar. I'm not sure, though.
You think? Are you sure that's his kid?
Maybe not his kid, or let's see. Mr. Roberts, wife of 66 years, Evelyn, died in 2005. He's survived by a daughter, Roberta Potts, and a son, Richard Roberts, who succeeded him as president of Oral Roberts University and resigned in 2007. I forget why he had to resign. Anybody know?
Yeah.
You know, Benj? What was his thing?
I know one of his tragedies. I mean, two of his tragedies, if you want.
What were the tragedies?
Okay, one, his daughter Rebecca died in an airplane crash in '77.
Right.
With her husband, and his eldest son committed suicide. And what he had this was 5 months after receiving a court order to undergo drug counseling.
Right. Yeah, that had to be a real blow to him. Those religious guys don't like that nonsense. Right. They're supposed to have the perfect family. They can fuck up the whole ministry.
But if you're, so in God's hands, why is your daughter falling out of the sky?
Yeah. Well,
Can't ever explain that away.
Well, I can explain it. She's not in God's hands.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but, you know, it kind of blows the lid off your little scam there when your kid falls out of the sky.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with the other son.
Yeah, because as far as I knew, that one son had taken his place and was giving...
If the one you're talking about is Richard Roberts, he had to resign from the presidency of Oral Roberts University. I guess he was a defendant in a lawsuit alleging improper use of university funds for political and personal purposes and improper use of university resources, whatever that means.
He's the only smart one. He's just going to grab it all.
Right, he's just going to really be a criminal. Why pretend you're not?
Right. Boy, that must have driven Oral Roberts crazy. But he was never accused. I mean, he was never convicted of anything criminal, right?
That I don't know. The report I just read was he was alleged to.
So is there no Oral Roberts on television anymore?
No Oral Roberts. He's dead. Yeah, Rebecca's oldest child and her husband, Marshall Nash, died in a plane crash. Her youngest son, Ronnie Roberts, died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound in 1982.
Jeez.
Which says something.
Yeah, really.
You know.
Must have been fun at home.
Yeah. Must have been a party hanging out with Oral Roberts. Especially going to Oral Roberts University. I can imagine the fun. I could imagine the fun agenda there with some religious kook who basically takes money from people for his televangelism. I hate televangelists. I truly do. I just think they're the scum of the earth. And it's sort of weird how they get this weird respect. They say that Oral Roberts was presidents even sought advice from Oral Roberts.
They go to speak at that university and they go and sit down with him.
They had a couple of guys. I think Jimmy Carter had some sort of sit down with him. Which shows you, here you go. You ready? Oral Roberts University estimated Mr. Roberts, its founder and first president, had personally laid his hands on more than 1.5 million people, during his career, reached more than 500 million people on television and radio, and received millions of letters and appeals. Among those seeking counsel and prayer were Presidents John F. Kennedy, Richard M. Nixon, and Jimmy Carter. John Lennon wrote a letter to Mr. Roberts in 1972 seeking forgiveness for publicly remarking that the Beatles were more popular than Jesus.
Jeez.
And asking him to explain to me what Christianity can do for me. I mean, poor John Lennon had a right to that fucking asshole.
Well, he didn't have to.
Well, he had to. He had a right. He had to figure out who to write to. He was getting hammered, if you remember that.
That's true.
I mean, it was like people were giving him death threats and all kinds of shit for that. It was wild. Because he said we're more popular than Jesus.
Well, you know, that's very Christian to write a death threat.
And by the way, I also want to mention that Courtney Love was court-ordered away from her daughter.